Hey everyone, we've all been there, right? You ask an AI a question and it gives you an answer that's, well, confidently and completely wrong. So today, we're going to dig into a really clever technique that's actually fixing this, making AI not just smarter, but a whole lot more trustworthy. Okay, but before we jump into the solution, we really need to get to the heart of the problem, because even the most powerful AI models out there have this big, fundamental flaw that we've got to understand first. So why does this happen? You know the drill. You ask a chatbot something, and it spits back this super confident-sounding answer that turns out to be, well, pure fiction. It happens all the time, and believe it or not, there are some really specific reasons for it. Okay, so it really just boils down to three main things. First up, it has no idea about your private stuff. Like your company's internal reports. Second, its knowledge is basically frozen in time. It has no clue what happened yesterday. And finally, when it gets stuck or unsure, it hallucinates. That's just a fancy way of saying it literally makes stuff up. The big takeaway here is that the AI is trying to answer everything from this huge but ultimately limited memory. So how in the world do we fix this? Well, the solution is actually an idea that I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with, especially if you've ever been to school. And right here, this is the core idea. This is the big aha moment. Instead of forcing the AI to pull answers from memory, like a stressful closed book exam, what if we just gave it an open book test? What if we could just hand it the exact cheat sheet it needs right when it needs it? So let's break this down. On one side, you've got your standard LLM just trying to answer from memory. But on the other side, you have this open book method, which is way, way smarter. First, it goes and finds the exact data it needs to answer your question. Then, and this is absolutely the key part, it builds its answer using only that specific information. This means it can tap into your private files or even news from this morning, completely sidestepping its old, outdated knowledge. So this really powerful open book technique actually has a name, and it's pretty much what this whole explainer is all about. It's called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or just RAG for short. And honestly, the name tells you pretty much everything you need to know. The retrieval part, that's the system going out and grabbing the right documents. That's our open book. Then the augmented generation part is the AI taking that info and using it to create a way smarter, totally fact-based answer. Okay, so that's the theory, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through an example so you can see it in action. All right, so let's imagine you work at a big company, say Toyota, and you need to know about your sales data from the last 2 quarters. This is the perfect example of private, super recent information that a standard LLM knows absolutely nothing about. Now, if you go and ask a regular chatbot this question, it's just going to fail. It'll probably say something like, sorry, I don't have access to that private data. Or even worse, it might just invent some numbers that sound believable but are totally made up. Either way, it simply cannot give you a real, factual answer. But with a RAG system, the whole process is completely different. It's actually a pretty simple two-step deal. First, you've got the retrieval phase. This is where the system dives into a private database and pulls out all the relevant sales reports. Then you get the generation phase, where the LLM uses those reports and only those reports to cook up a factual, grounded answer. Okay, this diagram here lays it all out beautifully. So a user's question comes in. The RAG system doesn't even try to answer from memory. Nope. Instead, it first goes and retrieves the relevant documents from your private data. It then hands just those specific facts over to the main AI. And now the AI's job is so much easier. It just has to reason and summarize based only on the info it was just given. The result, a grounded, accurate answer. And get this, it can even cite the exact sources it used to come up with. This is way more than just some clever technical trick. It really represents a fundamental shift in how we can interact with AI. We're talking about building a whole new foundation of trust here. So let's just recap for a second. Why is RAG such a massive game changer? Well, for one, it lets AI securely work with private, up-to-the-minute data. It basically crushes hallucinations by grounding every single answer in a source of truth. And crucially, it tells you where it got its information. It cites its sources, so we can actually go and check for ourselves. It all adds up to an AI that is just, fundamentally more trustworthy. And that really brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? By grounding AI in facts we can actually verify, instead of just letting it rely on a faulty memory, RAG gives us a powerful framework for accountability. It's not just about making AI smarter, it's about making it provably correct. So, is this it?
Is this the key, the breakthrough we need to finally truly trust our AI assistants? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.